Welcome to Miracle Morning Mastermind. We have been discussing some major topics as it pertains to how to stop missing goals. How to stop missing goals. How impactful has this series been on how to stop missing goals? In part one, we were discussing the concept of missing the mark. What does that look like? What can cause us to miss the mark, like aiming for a target with a bow and arrow, and the arrow never hits the target, doesn't hit the bullseye, or it doesn't even hit the target at all, and it falls to the floor, falls to the ground, and that in archery, that's called a sin, sin, to miss the mark. And yesterday, we went a little bit deeper into part two of how to stop missing goals. And we discovered a few other things that cause people to miss goals. And we dug into um, sometimes when people miss goals, they think they're just not good at achieving goals and they quit altogether. They just quit going after goals by mistake because they fall into the lie that, oh, I keep trying and I haven't made the goal yet. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this. And the scary part of that is they don't realize in that moment, well, this might be something you have to be taught. This, or either you have to be determined enough to figure it out on your own, or you find people who are good at it and copy them, learn from them, ask questions. And it's scary to me how many people don't have that in their programming. It doesn't occur to so many people before quitting, ask for wisdom. That's a very scary thing to me when so many people don't have that awareness that quitting is not the next option. It's seeking wisdom. And it just shows me that there's been some major negative programming that has become effective for a large group of people in this world, or at least in this part of the world. And that actually just makes me more fired up that I have to do something about it. Because it's hurting a lot of people to think that quitting is the option instead of seeking wisdom, seeking coaching, seeking mentorship. So I guess one of those tips is seek mentorship and coaching before you ever think about quitting something. And then we also discussed that sometimes there are physical things that need to be adjusted. And I use the example, I'm not a basketball player, but I like to shoot three pointers whenever I'm near a basketball court. And um, I like figuring out how to adjust it until I hit it. Is the ball going too far to the left or right? If so, that means I need to make a horizontal adjustment. Maybe my arm was pointed too far to the left or too far to the right, or my elbow was pointing in the wrong direction. Or maybe it's going straight down the middle, but it's either going up too high over the rim and missing, or too low below the rim and missing. So I just need to adjust vertically up or down. So those are physical adjustments. And then we discuss sometimes it's not a physical adjustment. Sometimes it's a spiritual adjustment that needs to be made. And we talked about that yesterday. And today I want to bring that full circle because there are actually four types of adjustments. If you ever find yourself missing a goal, or someone that you're mentoring or coaching is missing a goal, it's important to know that there are 4 types of adjustments to check. The first type of adjustment to check is what we just discussed. It's a physical adjustment. Is there a physical adjustment that needs to be made? Something we're doing physically that needs to shift. If we're talking about the business of sales or recruiting or marketing, which is based on numbers, ratios. There's a certain ratio. Like I have a formula in my business called 10 equals 2 and 1. Over 25 years, I've seen a pattern when 25 people look at it and get their questions answered by a third party. I mean, when 10 people look at some information and get their questions answered by a third party, about 2 of them enroll as a customer right away, 6 to 8 out of 10 over time, but about 2 right away. And 1 of them comes into the business if we're doing recruiting presentations or recruiting interviews. So 1 out of 10 interviews gets selected for the team. So that ratio is a physical activity. So if I'm missing a goal, one of the first things I'm going to check is there a physical adjustment? Did I actually do enough activity based on the ratio, not emotions, not opinions, not what I was hoping for? That physical adjustment does not require hope. Achieving the goal does not require that. Sometimes it just requires, if I needed 4 customers and 10 equals 2 customers, then that means I need to do 20 presentations followed by getting their questions answered by a third party. So I either did the 20 or I didn't. So a physical adjustment there is that simple. It's I either did the 20 or I didn't. And for most people, the answer is no, I was hoping for 4 out of 10, even though the ratio says 2 out of 10. So I was hoping to get more by doing less. And that's an easy way to sin. That's an easy way to miss the mark. So that's a simple physical adjustment, though. That's actually good news. Wait a minute. If that's the only thing keeping me from hitting a goal is actually doing the right amount of activity, that means all I have to do is do 20 this time, and I can expect the ratio to give me the 4 that I was looking for. So that's just a physical adjustment. The second type of adjustment, let's say I did do my 20 and I didn't get my 4. Well, there's another part of the physical adjustment. Maybe I did the quantity right, and now I just need to get the quality of my activity right. The quantity was correct, but the quality was not. Maybe the 20 people that I showed the presentation to were highly unqualified people. They were unlikely to ever enroll. Maybe they don't have a job, they don't have an income. Well, that would affect the ratio. Even if they wanted to buy, even if the ratio was the same, there's 4 out of the 20 that want to buy, they're just not able to buy because the quality of the prospect was off. That's a physical adjustment. Or maybe my um maybe I was supposed to follow up in that process to make sure they got to the third party person to answer their question, and I just haven't completed that physical step yet. So that's a physical adjustment. Okay, So let's say you did all the physical stuff right. You got the quantity right, you got the quality right, but you still missed the goal. Somebody still missed the goal. What's the next type of adjustment I would look at in the 4 adjustments? The next adjustment is an emotional adjustment. Wow. An emotional adjustment? What is that, coach? Well, let's go back to the basketball, the 3-point line. I'm shooting a 3-pointer. My form is correct. My elbow is positioned properly. Horizontal adjustments are good, check. Vertical adjustments are good, check. But I just had an argument with a loved one, and I'm an emotional wreck. And instead of focusing on the shot that I'm making, I can't quite focus the way I normally would because my emotions are so intense. And I haven't channeled that emotion to focus. And so, even though my form is correct, my emotions keep throwing me off. That's an emotional or situation. What if I'm in the middle of a real basketball game and my emotions are off? And the coach sees it like, hey man, you okay? You're not playing like normal. We're gonna probably pull off to the side somewhere and have a pep talk and try to do some exercises to get emotionally grounded because I need an emotional adjustment. How can I how can I shift my focus, or how can I shift my perception, my perspective on what happened so I could have emotional peace? Oh, this is so important. This is what champions figure out. Being an Olympic athlete, being a professional, being a champion is not just about the physical work and the physical conditioning. A champion must learn how to manage themselves emotionally. You're being paid millions of dollars to perform on the world stage. We can't let emotions get in the way. We got to have some tools. We got to pick up some tools for emotional management. We're going to do some research. We might even get you a coach that could teach you some tools on how do you shift your state. It's called changing your state. Jot that down if you want to learn how to make emotional adjustments. It's called changing my state. How to change my state of being, my emotional state. How to change my emotional state. Here's another form of emotional adjustment. Let's go back to the sales ratio. And let's say it was the 10 equals 2. So let's say I show the 10 people, I show 20 people the presentation, followed by a 3-way intro or an introduction to a third party who can answer their questions. And that's my formula for enrolling 4 people. But for some reason, I'm not enrolling those 4 people, and it's because I need an emotional adjustment. What if I what if I did that presentation for those 20 people with a bad attitude?
Mm.
Or what if I was rude? Or I came across like I didn't really care about the person. I was just trying to get something for me. And so emotionally, I'm coming across as someone that's all about myself, or somebody who's rude, or somebody who's angry. I'll give you a great example. I was um, I was feeding for some Ethiopian food a few months ago. I was like, what do I want to eat today? And I'm like, oh man, some Ethiopian food would be so great. I've been saying that for like 2 days. And I was driving in Sacramento and I saw an Ethiopian restaurant and I got so excited. I wanted to give them my business, give them my money so they could make a sale, so they could generate income and I could enjoy the food. And when I walked into the restaurant, I wasn't sure if they were fully open or not because the person wasn't behind the counter. Somebody was like wiping down the wall, and stood there for a good almost 2 minutes, it felt like, before they even said hello to me. And they never said hello. It was kind of like the feeling I got was like, what do you want? Not welcome. Can you imagine at a restaurant?
Mm.
The feeling was, instead of feeling like, hello, welcome, it was like, what do you want? It made me confused. Like, wait, am I in the wrong place? Is this, are you open? Are you not open? She's like, yeah, yeah, we're open. I'm like, okay. And I had some questions, and she was, it felt to me like she was frustrated because I had questions about the menu, which made me even more confused. Like, wait, what is going on right here? Are they going through something, or am I triggering her, or is it something that had nothing to do with me? All I know is I finally said, you know what, thank you, no worries, and I left. And I found another amazing restaurant. It wasn't Ethiopian; it was uh, Caribbean food. But they lost my business not because of anything other than the attitude.
Mm.
They needed an emotional adjustment to make that sale. They missed the sale because of attitude and nothing else. And I wonder how many other sales they missed. And I probably will never, ever, ever go to that restaurant again. And I pass it every single week. So
Mm.
sometimes the second adjustment is an attitude adjustment, an emotional adjustment. The third type of adjustment is a mental adjustment. A mental adjustment. So I'm at the 3 point line. I made the physical adjustment. Maybe, or maybe I didn't consciously make the physical adjustment. I'm just used to shooting, and then it just goes in sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't go in. But maybe my physical isn't so bad most of the time. Maybe my emotional is fine, but my mindset, my mind is all over the place. I'm thinking about all these different things. So I keep, my form is right at first, but then my mind is wandering all over the place. So at the last moment, I'm making an adjustment that causes me to miss the shot because my mind isn't in the game. Have we ever heard that term? Keep your head in the game. Keep your head in the game. That mental adjustment could be a mental distraction. It could be a bad philosophy. Like, um, I like to play pool as well. And I found that these principles are the same. Like shooting pool properly, there's a certain physical form and focus and flow when I make a shot versus when I miss a shot. Same with a 3 pointer. And I haven't been bowling that many times in my life, but when I do, I've discovered it's the exact same process. There's a certain form that when I put my arm a certain way and hold the ball a certain way and roll it a certain way and aim it a certain way, I hit 10. And when I don't, I don't. But also, if my emotional state or my mental state is off, then usually the shot is off. I missed the mark. So sometimes that third adjustment is a mental adjustment. What must I do to get my mind back in a game, to remove the distraction or fix my philosophy? Listen to Jim Rohn's Challenge to Succeed, Challenge to Succeed, Challenge to Succeed. It's on audio. It's not a book, it's an audio or a video. Challenge to Succeed by Jim Rohn. It's on YouTube, it's an Audible. It will change your life. And the fourth adjustment we talked about in the part two of this video, how to stop missing goals. Sometimes it's not a physical adjustment that needs to be made. Sometimes that's right. You're doing it right physically. Sometimes it's not an emotional adjustment. Your emotions are just fine to achieve the goal. Sometimes it's not a mental adjustment. Your mind is in the right place to achieve the goal. And so, wait a minute. If I'm doing all that right, then what in the world could stop me from from hitting the goals? And that's the fourth one. Sometimes it's a spiritual adjustment. And I found in a lot of business, this one gets neglected. A lot of people don't touch this one. They ignore it. But you can ignore the laws of gravity all you want. It doesn't mean the laws of gravity are not working for you or against you. A law is working for or against you at any time, whether you believe it or not, whether you acknowledge it or not. The law is the law. If you don't believe in gravity, but you jump off of a 10-story building, you will quickly learn that the law of gravity exists, even though you didn't believe in it. So in part two, we discussed the spiritual adjustment. Sometimes there's a spiritual, one of two spiritual forces that are hindering you from moving forward. And we talked about it in part two, what to do to overcome. So those are the four adjustments when it comes to missing goals. Um, what's your biggest takeaway? Who was greatly impacted by something between part one, two, or three? And what's your
Um,
biggest takeaway and how you're going to apply it?
okay, this is Deidre, Houston, Texas. I'm an executive director, and I am an executive director maker. Coach, you got right. I wrote this down, but yesterday you got to at the same place yesterday about the same time, and I really would like to hear about these spiritual forces. What do you mean? How it related to what we're doing and our success? Because I see that these adjustments are really helpful. I can take a look at myself and see that when number one is one that I am off with because even though I've let people see a video, then they either won't get on the phone with me or they'll tell me I'm not interested. So I realize I have a deficit right there that I'm going to work out. I'm finding out. I will find out. I will work on getting past the three-way with some of these people that are worth it and quality. At first, I started out getting people that didn't have jobs or just really could not do what we do and didn't want to. But the spiritual adjustment, I really want you to maybe
So yes,
expound on.
so that one, and I would say watch that again. But the biggest takeaway for the spiritual adjustment, one of them is remember, life and death is in the power of the tongue.
I wrote that down. Mm-hmm.
So make sure you speak um, in spiritual authority. Speak life. Speak what you desire, not what you don't want. A good book is called Jesus CEO by Lori Beth Jones. Jesus CEO.
Okay.
And she has this phrase in there that blew my mind. She said, "If everything you said about yourself came back and wrapped itself around you, what type of verbal wardrobe would you be wearing?
Mm,
Like, would you be wearing rags, like filthy rags, because of your words? Or would you be wearing the garb of royalty by your
got it.
words?" So the power of your words, speak truth, speak life. The Bible talks about speaking life. It talks about thinking on these things, thinking on good things, positive things, healthy thoughts, and speaking those things, speaking in authority. When opposition is coming against you, speak truth, speak life, speak love, speak power, speak authority, declare it. You don't fight thoughts with thoughts, you fight thoughts with words.
Got it. Thank you.
And then the second one is to make sure, there's a passage in the Bible in the Tower, Genesis chapter 11, and there's one in Numbers 22. In Genesis 11, the people were achieving their goal to build this tower called the
Mm-hmm.
Tower of Babel. They were
Mm-hmm.
achieving the goal. That means they were physically aligned, mentally aligned, emotionally aligned. It was working. And God himself shut it down because it was contrary to what God wanted built. So they spent all that energy, effort, time building something that God did not want built. And it turned out to be a waste of time. In Numbers chapter 22, Baal was on his way to do something that God didn't want him to do.
Got it.
And God shut it down. The angel of the Lord showed up, sword in hand, and shut it down because that's not what God wanted him to do. On the flip side, when the walls of Jerusalem needed to be built and Nehemiah was facing all kinds of opposition, it almost seemed impossible to get it done, but God wanted it done and he committed to doing it. No matter what forces came against him, it still got built because God wanted it built.
Got it. Okay.
When Noah was given the vision to build an ark, nobody heard of that. It never rained before. What are you building? Nobody even knew what he was building. He didn't even know what he was building. He didn't know how to build it, what to build, except for following God's instructions for building it. God wanted it built. It seemed impossible for that to be built, and nobody knew what he was doing. Everybody thought he was crazy. And even though he didn't know what he was doing, nobody else knew what he was doing. It seemed impossible to do. It still got built because God wanted it built.
Got it.
So what's the
Thank you.
takeaway for me? Why, in my right mind, would I ever waste all my time, energy, effort, coordination, organization trying to build something that God doesn't want built just for him to shut it down? And if he doesn't want it built, trust and believe.
Yes.
He will shut it down.
Yes.
And you may think it's not being shut down. I don't know who I'm talking to, but he will shut it down eventually or burn it down. And so if I'm going to build something that I want to last, that I want to thrive, that I want to win, I've learned to make the spiritual adjustment of finding out what God wants built and just build that. Hello? How common sense is that? God never fails. If he wanted built, no forces of darkness, no forces of anything is going to stop what God wants built. So if I want to build something successful, you can press mute, Miss Glover. If I want to build something successful, I might as well check with God first. What does God want built? And partner with God and build what he wants built so he can bless it and protect it and guide me and instruct me, and it will last as long as he wants it to last. So that's making spiritual adjustments. So family, let's go out there and practice these principles on how to stop missing goals and look at what are the physical adjustments: quantity, quality, vertical, horizontal. What are the emotional adjustments? How am I feeling? What are the mental adjustments? What am I thinking? What am I focused on? Am I thinking right? And what are the spiritual adjustments? Am I in spiritual alignment on this assignment? And am I speaking with spiritual authority? And let's go crush these goals. Let's go conquer. Let's go press toward the mark. Let's go hit these bullseyes. And more importantly, as we discussed in part one, let's do more than enough, way more than enough activity to ensure that we develop the habit of not just barely hitting the goal or not just almost making the goal and missing, but let us as born CEOs develop the habit of always exceeding the goal because we always do way more than enough required to achieve the goal. Have a great week, everybody.
Let's go conquer, y'all. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Let's go. What time is it?
Ring time.
Springtime.
Next stop.
Platinum.
Platinum.
Love y'all. Have a great day.
Love you too.